Armani. Thank you for joining me on Stories to Screen today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so delighted. Thank you.
Now, you've had an incredibly exciting life and exciting career, haven't you? You were Tina Turner's PA, and not just her PA, you were a best friend as well for how many years? Over 20?
Oh my gosh, over 22 years. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
you must have had so many exciting things happen. I mean, you should really consider writing a book about it. Oh, wait a minute. You already did. The Real Tea.
There you go.
This is so good. I really really enjoyed reading it because I'm a
Well,
bit. Yeah, carry
I'm
on.
glad I'm glad you actually um got the book and you were able to take your time and read it without being rushed into reading it
Yeah,
so that we could do this interview. And that's why we took our time with scheduling time so that you could digest everything
yeah.
and then we would have a lot to talk about.
But I didn't just read it because there were certain things I was like, oh, I'm going to check that out on YouTube. And then when I watched it on YouTube, I was like, oh, I know what went on behind the scenes when that happened. Yeah, like the Rod Stewart, the hot legs. Is it hot legs? Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah.
Oh, that was yes, yes, yes.
She was.
There's
I mean, your
what
book
I
is an incredible journey, isn't it? I mean, it's your journey and it's also Tina Turner's journey as well.
absolutely. You know, when I decided to um, write this book, I wrote the book 25 years ago,
Mm.
and then for whatever reasons, the book just sat there. It's sold by word of mouth, but it didn't, go to number one. So the book just lied there. And then as I progressed and got on with my life, um, and this is before Tina's passing, for everyone that thought that I'm jumping on the bandwagon, I had decided that one of the things with my book was released on hardback, but it was never released on paperback. And I decided, well, you know what I'll do? Now that all the rights are reverted back to me, because I had a unfortunate publisher who was a crook. So I
Mm.
never made any money on the book. So that's why I left it for so long. And then I decided, well, you know what? Let's put the book on paperback.
Yeah.
And paperbacks are easy and
Mm.
there's so much you can revisit and all of that. So I went back 25 years ago to see where I was as Eddy Armani writing it 25 years later. What do you think about that to myself? And I tell you honestly, one of the things that I was really, really, really proud of is the fact that I stuck to my guns. And I stuck to my guns with the publisher and with the people that I were dealing with, because one of the things I said, this is my journey.
Yeah.
It's I'm fortunate to have had this incredible woman in my life. And I want to tell my story. I want to tell how she's influenced my life, how I went about meeting her, how I was able to travel with other and see and be in the same room with people like Mick Jagger, Andy Warhol, Rod Stewart, Shirley Bassey,
Mm.
Olivia Newton-John. I mean, and from I mean, the list goes on and on and on without name dropping. But even before I started working with Tina, I have always been so incredibly into music that I went to every concert I could go to. I would always be the front row. I would always get tickets where there was a group of us. I used to dance on American Bandstand, American Soul Train, which was in competition with American Bandstand. American Bandstand was really developed for the world. I mean, and Soul Train was developed so the black kids could have something that they could relate to. And
Mm.
I came up at that time, and it wasn't a black show. It was a show for everyone because we had everyone on there from Elton John to David Bowie to Aretha Franklin to Ike and Tina Turner. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But I was so involved with all of that music side of things. And even on my way up the ladder to get to Tina, who is my queen, I worked with Martha Reeves. I worked with Mary Wilson from the Supremes. I worked with a group in America called War, who had lots of hit records. I mean, again, I could go on and on and on, but I did my homework and I knew what I wanted. So I was quite prepared to work with Tina when she went solo, because I also, going back to that little boy,
Mm.
I started Ike and Tina Turner's ever first fan club.
I know, you're 12 years old.
I was 12 years old, 13, 14 years old when I actually got it all together.
Yeah.
But I was a baby,
Yeah, I mean
you
that wouldn't
know?
happen these days. It's something that you
Not
can't
at all.
do. So,
Not at all.
I mean, going back to Baby Eddie, I mean, it was obvious that music was your passion, and then you saw Tina on television, didn't you?
Yes, I was. I've always had this thing. I think that being a child, going back, I must have just been like this little freak because every time music came on, I was moving and dancing
No, that just
and
means that you're meant to do what you're doing.
I know, but from being a child, I just when the music came, my mother said that when music came on, I changed.
Mm.
I was like I came so alive, and I did. I just found it spiritually. It just electrified me at a very young age. So um, there was other performers that I quite liked. Of course, James Brown was my first person that I knew his music, and there was the Motown, and there was this and that. But there was something about the first time I heard Ike and Tina Turner on American Bandstand television show in America. I heard the voice first,
Mm.
and my cousin dragged me up the stairs to say, because she used to tease me that I danced like that wild woman, which was Tina.
Oh
And
yeah.
so as that she was dragging me up the stairs, I heard the music, and as I was hearing the music, and I got closer, and remember we had televisions, black and white. They were about that big in those days, but it was like that big to me. I mean,
Yeah.
when I looked and found out where that voice was coming from. And then I put it to a face and a body and the musicians and the Ikettes and Ike Turner. I was just mesmerized. I think that was the day that I say I came alive. As far as I'm concerned, it was almost like my virginity of music was
Yeah.
broken. I came so alive, and that was the beginning.
It's funny because you said then that you want to be her best friend. I mean, I've heard of manifesting stuff, but that's just huge, isn't it? That's proof that it does work.
Well,
But
I come from not an overly religious family, but we went to church on Sunday, and I sang in the choir and all of that. And it was taught to me before you go to bed, you get on your knees, you say your prayers, and when you wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, you say, "Thank God for another day." And every night after I finished my prayers, I, for some reason, used to say, "Oh God, please let me meet Tina Turner." Actually, I used to say Ike and Tina Turner because I thought Ike and Tina Turner was one name, and
yeah, oh
I
yeah.
said that, and my prayer that those were my prayers, and then my prayers got to, oh God, I got to meet her. But then as I start growing up and becoming obsessed with her and obsessed with her music and buying the records and going to the record shop, but we had record shops in those days, and I used to have big speakers outside, and they used to play all the latest music. Well, I'd go in there every day after school or whenever I could, especially the weekends, and ask, was there any new Ike and Tina Turner, and I just was this, and I remember that I used to go and get lost into the record shops. I mean, I must have been about 10 or 11 by that time.
Yeah.
But most of the kids were out in the playgrounds playing and stuff. I was in the record shop listening to all the latest, the Jim Morrison, the Doors, and Hot Chocolate, and this, and I just remember my childhood being filled with such a variety of incredible music.
Mm.
Incredible. And I actually am a bit of a snob these days because I don't, and listen, I know everything goes in waves and everything, I'm in a different generation and this and that, and I am older and all that kind of stuff, but there's no excuse for poor music.
Mhm.
Music is the ultimate, and music should always grow and be fantastic. Nowadays, the music business and the music is like a drive-through McDonald's. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Everybody sounds the same. It's like, for example, if you go to McDonald's and you look at the menu, everything that you have is going to taste just like what you had. The French fries are not even crispy anymore; they're soggy. So I do compare the music business with McDonald's. That's what it is to me. I mean, when I was growing up, we had, you could turn on the radio and you have Dionne Warwick, you would have Shirley Bassey, you would have the Rolling Stones, you'd have
Yeah.
the Beatles, you'd have Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Motown. I mean, today, everything, and I listen to BBC religiously every morning. That happens to be my station. I think I enjoy it because they do play a variety of music and you don't have to deal with all those commercials. But um, I honestly, I can't tell Lana Del Rey, whatever her name is, and then this girl Taylor Smith or
Taylor Swift.
Swift, Taylor
Yeah.
Swift. Um, even Beyonce. I mean, I'm not a Beyonce fan. I don't put her down. I think she's very professional and very good at what she does. She just doesn't do it for me. There's no soul there. There's no feeling there. It's all so calculated. And they all have the same producers, the same writers, the same co-writers. They all duet with each other. Nobody can sing a song on their own anymore. They need the help of everyone. I mean, I've never seen so many bloody duets in all my life, But yes, so I grew up with that music knowledge and loving music so much. But my prayers always ended with, God, please let me meet Ike and Tina Turner. So as it is told in the book, which is quite great. I used to go to summer camp every year, and I used to really perform and have a good time there. And it was all to make me grow up as a young man and learn the outdoor life. We went camping for 6 weeks, and we were about 9, 10 years old. So we were away from our families for the first time and all that stuff. But it was the best thing in the world. I remember why we used to bathe in the actual river. We used to drink the water from the river.
And you survived.
And we survived. You do survive because that's all naturally nature, you see. And so with my prayers, I came back from the summer camp one year. And the next thing, my mother was getting remarried and all of that. And we were moving to California. And I had been praying that, God, please, if I ever go to California, let me meet Ike and Tina Turner. Anyway, fast forward, we moved to California. And of course, as a child, by this time I'm 12 years old, you think that it's just, I'll pick up the phone and call Ike and Tina. Well, I almost did.
You did? Yeah, I know.
I almost did, but I did. No, I did do it, but I thought it was going to be so like, call information. Hi, can you connect me with Ike and Tina Turner? Anyway, I finally got Ike and Tina Turner's phone number because of the recording studio, Bollock Sound Recording Studio. And I literally called up every single day after school. I was fortunate to get this incredible woman who ended up being one of my lifelong friends, who's still my friend to this day. And she was the secretary. And she used to pick up the phone. She used to speak to me, and she nurtured me. So going fast forward, I think after a year and a half, and I would call her up and ask her, what was Tina like? What was Tina's favorite food? What did Tina wear today? Where did they go? Da, 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 da. And I think because you must remember too, Ike and Tina Turner were kind of a little bit more mature music. They weren't like Donny Osmond bubblegum pop. And I never liked bubblegum pop. I kind of missed that boat. I love real music, and I love the blues. I love rock and roll. I mean, the Rolling Stones to this day. I just watched some footage last night of their new show. I mean, how incredible, and Mick can still show these young punks how it's supposed to be done. Okay, so then eventually I was invited to meet Ike and Tina. And when I met Tina, I have to say that she liked me. She was polite.
Yeah.
But I was just I had too much energy. I was too much for her.
Well,
she was a little bit.
Weren't you?
I made her very nervous, actually. So eventually, I had to learn a lot growing up, being around her. And Tina's a very kind of very patient person, but can be very polite. And well, I don't do polite, and I wasn't going to stand for polite. I wanted Tina Turner. And so that was the beginning. And when I went to the grand opening of their recording studio, because I was invited there, I was the only child there. And what was great about it, I didn't realize this until I revisit my book. Everybody thought I was Ike and Tina's kid.
Oh, that's so cool.
No, they were all tapping me on the head and go, "Oh, hi, you're so cute. Are you Ike and Tina's kid?" And I would say no and shake my head. And then another one would come and squeeze my little cheeks. And I mean, it was just like I was this little puppet kid there. And I loved every minute of
Oh,
it.
I bet
You
you did.
know, I loved it. And I've always had a thing about older people and mature people. I loved being around knowledge
Yeah,
and people's experience. I love to hear about other people's lives and
I'm the same.
experience. I absolutely adored it. So this went on, and I pushed my way in. And then one day, then Ike said that he was going to put me in charge of all the Ike and Tina Turner fan mail. And that was on a Friday.
Mm.
On Monday morning, I called up and said, "When do I start working?" And then he was like, "Man, that was a joke." And so the whole thing was like I pestered him.
Yeah.
I pestered him. But remember something. Now that I had met Ike and Tina, I didn't stop praying. I didn't stop wishing. I didn't stop hoping.
No, why
My
would
dreams
you?
only got bigger. They got bigger. And that went on for a long time. And I started the fan club, and then I got to know Ike and Tina very well. I went to every concert, every show. In the meantime, I'm still going to all the other concerts. And I mean, I have to say that when I was 13, I had rang and got in touch with Ike and Tina. This friends of my mother's had taken me out for the day or something, and I was hanging out with them. And at the last minute, they were on their way back home, and we were passing the Los Angeles Forum, which is the big arena, and Jimi Hendrix was playing there. And they said, "Oh, by the way, one of the girls knew someone in the music business," and whatever. We went back, got VIP parking, and next thing I know, I'm standing backstage as a 13-year-old kid, standing on stage, watching Jimi Hendrix, going, "Oh my God, this guy is really cool." I mean, he's really cool. And what is he doing with that guitar? And he was like an animal. He was like he was such a god. He was such an animal. Funny enough, to backtrack, Jimi Hendrix was born in Seattle, Washington. I
Yeah.
was born in Seattle, Washington. My parents graduated and went to and fell in love at Garfield High School. Jimi Hendrix went to Garfield High School, and Jimmy was 2 years below my parents, and they remember Jimmy because Jimmy was a little bit of he would just love music and play music and stuff. So he was in the making of being Jimi Hendrix, but
Bit like you.
like me. But look at that, going back in that connection, whatever.
Yeah.
So Jimi Hendrix has always been someone that I just, gosh, he was just so different. And he was so, and I think that's another reason why um, uh, uh, Tina Turner just came in, and she was like no other female performer that I had ever seen. I mean,
Mm.
never seen a woman so beautiful and so animal and so sexy. And so she was all of those things in one, but she wasn't prissy,
Mm.
you know? And I love the way she grabbed the microphone. I mean, Janis Joplin was another one of my favorites. She was just, I think I've always been attracted to, I love that kind of rawness
Mm.
of that. Is that the right word? I like that raw rock and roll. That's what I love about Jagger, and I love about Rod Stewart and different people. Um, and also it was forbidden. It was like, "Oh my gosh, go cut your hair," or
Yeah.
calm down a bit or whatever. But the more you say that, the more they get like, I mean, I just was obsessed with music. So I went through this whole thing growing up, still saying my prayers and every day just being obsessed with Ike and Tina until I got to the age about 16 and I start driving and I got a car. And then I got a part-time job because Linda was still my friend. She was still working there. We were
Yeah.
still close. And one day I just happened to be in the studio. The phones were going crazy. One of the girls had gone to lunch. So Linda was there by herself. And I just picked up the phone and said, "Bollock Sound Recording Studio, may I help you?" And she just turned to me. She said, "Do you want a part-time job?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, you come on the week." So I started working at Bollock Sound, excuse me, recording studio when I was 16 years old, part-time.
That's
And
insane.
then, and I used to kind of like tell a little Porky so I could work on the weekends. and all the artists like Frank Zappa and Three Dog Night and Rufus and Shaka Khan and Natalie Cole and Sly and the Family Stones. All these people were coming down to record at Bollock Sound Recording Studio, and I had the master keys, and I was letting them in and out, running around, getting them coffee. But I was so subservient because I loved it.
Yeah.
I was so hungry to be around this talent, you
Mm.
know? I mean,
What did your
and
family think about it all? They must have thought, what is going on?
well, I have to give my family credit, and I have to, especially my mother and my stepfather. They made it so that I could have the life that I had. When my mother remarried, she married a very kind of, well, she married a very wealthy man. So my mother didn't have to work anymore and struggle. My mother used to work 2 jobs to
Yeah.
support 3 kids. And then she married this guy. And so, and because he wasn't my real father, and because I was so into music and I was a little bit kind of, I was never, see, I was a good kid. I was never wild. I never got in trouble. They just kind of left me to it. And I was a little bit of a loner.
Mm.
And I liked it that way. And I kind of played up on it a bit too. Um, I did a lot of the same things that all the other kids did, but I was clever. I was clever. I was a clever kid. I was a
What did
clever
your
kid.
mates think about you working there and hanging out with all these celebrities?
Oh my gosh. I was like and I went to Fairfax High School, graduated from Fairfax High School, where the Jackson Five attended just for a short period of time before they went to private school. And it was there was Hollywood High School and Fairfax High School. And Fairfax was the coolest one. And Hollywood High School was for the brats, 90210s. I went to Fairfax and the kids were so cool. I mean, we wore platform shoes and went to David Bowie concerts, and
Oh, I would have loved
I
to have
went
met him.
out, came out with Ziggy Stardust makeup on, and especially being 2 subjects we didn't speak about, being black and being so into rock and that kind of bizarre stuff and all that. Yeah, it was quite bizarre. I think my parents a couple times were just going, "Oh God, where's he going now? What is he doing now?" But because I was so responsible as a child and I proved myself as a teenager, they left me to my own device. I was very blessed that way.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, you were hanging out with a lot of adults, weren't you? And a lot of some were taking drugs and stuff like Ike. And when did you discover that he wasn't quite as nice as you thought he might have been?
Well, I was not a fool. I mean, again, like I said, I was very nosy. So I heard rumors. Again, I have to say that someone said to me, "Oh, what was Ike Turner like?" And I said, "He was the nicest guy you could meet. He was
Mm.
so generous. He was so nice and whatever." And they said, "Oh, well, what do you think about Tina's side of everything?" I said, "Tina told her absolutely the truth. You have to remember something. A lot of people don't, and this is where a lot of abusers get away with things, is because most abusers are the most charming, loveliest people you can meet.
Yeah.
Charming and lovely to everybody else except to the person that they're abusing. And with Ike and Tina, he never did anything in front of other people. It was always behind closed doors. Tina suffered in silence. Um, but the thing about Tina, I have to say, she is probably, and paying tribute to her, she was the strongest person, human, female, I've ever met in my life. And
Mm.
I mean someone that I wasn't just in her life for a couple of months or worked with Ike and Tina and did this. I lived with this woman. I
Yeah.
traveled with her. I was her best friend. I cooked for her. I cleaned for her. I was her chauffeur. At
Yeah.
Christmas time, there would be times at Christmas that Tina and I would decorate the tree together, and it would just be only Tina and myself. None of the children, just the two of us. And I became so I was very clever because I knew that this inspiration, this woman, um, she inspired me. She
Yeah.
taught me not to do drugs, um, to stay on the straight and narrow, to want to better myself, to educate myself, to speak better, to um, I come from a good family, as I said, but at the same time, I think it worked for the fact that my family we were so much kind of like in that same kind of thing. We were black educated people that wanted to do better with our lives.
Yeah.
And I was taught that, and I was teaching myself. And then I had not only my family and my people that I admired, but I had this woman that I just idolized, and she just showed me the way to go to better oneself,
Mm.
you know, and dream anything that you want, you know.
It's true. I mean, reading your story, your book, it inspired me as well because she went through so much crap, didn't she, with Ike? But she didn't let it stop her. She just carried on. And even when she was broke and she had to go and get food stamps and stuff, she wore her glamorous clothes. But yeah,
Absolutely.
she kept going and going and getting more and more famous. And then even, I mean, I'm 41, but even in her 40s, she was still like getting better and better at what she was doing, wasn't she? I mean, when did she really become famous?
Well, you know, the thing about Ike and Tina, of course, started their career on the R&B black circuit, which was great, but what Ike did, Ike was a very clever businessman, and what he did um, back in the South, I mean, you know, back in those days or whatever, they'd have to play the black clubs, and then they pack up all their equipment, and then they go play the colleges for the white kids.
Mm.
So, but Ike and Tina always had that appeal for both, you see.
Yeah.
Um, and then they had their first record, "Fool in Love" was a hit, and that established them on the black R&B music scene. And then Phil Spector comes in, and then he produces River Deep Mountain High. River Deep Mountain High, of course, was a flop in the States, but in Europe and England, it went to number 4 in the charts. It was such a hit. Then the
Mm.
Rolling Stones was going over to the States. And I have to say this, doing this video interview with you right now, the Rolling Stones, again, I was speaking about them earlier. I have so much praise for them because, and I have a lot of praise for a lot of the British icons because they really respected and did their homework and learned a lot about American black artists.
Mm.
And whenever there was an opportunity for them to help or work with these Americans, um, they were in awe of them. And it was the Rolling Stones because of River Deep Mountain High. It flopped in the States, but it was a hit in Europe and whatever. Then the Rolling Stones invited Ike and Tina Turner to come to England. And them coming to England is what broke and made the record even bigger.
Yeah.
And then from that point, Ike and Tina opened and traveled the world. They opened and traveled the world 3 times for the Rolling Stones. And the Rolling Stones was rock and roll bad boys. I mean, they were
Yeah.
good. And they were traveling with private jets and all that stuff. So Ike and Tina always had a really good balance. And then, you know, they had Proud Mary was a big hit. Then Nutbush again was a big hit, but then it was a bigger hit over here in England. And they came back over and, you know, traveled and toured and did all that. But Nutbush was Ike and Tina's last hit record together, and was the beginning of the end. Tina knew she was going to leave him. It
Yeah.
was just trying to find a way. And I want to make it very clear to express to people how dangerous Ike was. He was a
Yeah.
dangerous man.
Yeah.
Ike was a thug. Okay. Don't get it twisted. He was an incredible musician, and he was great, but he was a wife beater and he was a thug.
Yeah.
And that side of him overtook his music ability, and that's what destroyed him.
Yeah.
And Tina was trying to find a way to get away from him. We all know the story that she did get away. Thank God
Yeah.
she got away, but she always knew she was going to get away. She
Yeah.
always knew, but it was hard because he was a dangerous man. He was the type of man that if you got him on a bad day, a wrong day or something, um, I I could have possibly, on a bad day, he could have killed Tina.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he wanted
I
to,
mean,
didn't he?
yeah, he really did. I mean, he did. I mean, he wanted to, but she was just like, I'm not gonna let this man stop me. I've gave him everything, and he taught me, but I had the talent, and enough's enough now,
Mm.
because we're not in slavery. You know, our great grandparents had to go through all of that and did all that so that we could be free. And now I'm with this man, and he thinks I'm going to be a slave for him. So enough's enough. So enough was enough. And then Tina fled and she got away from him. And going back to your question, when did she get famous? So Ike and Tina always had those blocks that they were stacking and getting very successful with.
Yeah.
But then it got to the point where Tina started doing her cabaret shows. That's when I came in and started working with her and went to
Yeah.
all the shows and saw her and all that. And she was fabulous. She, at that point, because she wanted to get so far away from the Ike and Tina stuff, that she
Yeah.
wanted to be very cabaret and Margaret, this, that. And she did all the share shows. And Tina had a lot of people rooting for her because everybody loved Tina Turner.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I mean, everyone loved Tina Turner. And I'm no exception. I'm just so excited and happy that I discovered it at such a young age that I was able to grow up with all of that. And I did. And I had a friend of mine asked me recently, said, how are you dealing with, the passing of Tina? And I said, well, I'm not dealing with it because it hasn't hit me properly. It hasn't hit me because what has happened is that since her passing, of course, everybody's got a resurge, a recharge of this incredible woman. And, the new music coming out and documentaries and pictures and this and that. And it's just been incredible. And I think that until the day that I don't know, but I don't think anyone's going to be forgetting Tina Turner for a long, long, long time.
No.
She will never be forgotten. It's like Billie Holiday, it's like all these different Josephine Baker, these people that we adore. But when you find a talent in someone who stands out, you don't forget them. And that's what I was trying to say in a very nice way, but in a truthful way.
Yeah.
The talents of today, there's talent there. Don't misunderstand me. There's talent there, but it's also manufactured.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Did you watch the
It's not the
Eurovision?
same. I am not a Eurovision person at all.
No,
At
neither am
all.
I.
I absolutely, and I remember when I first came to England, it was because I've lived in England longer than I've lived in the States. I mean, I should have been born here, but no, it's one of the things that no, yeah.
I've never understood it, and now it's even weirder. So, just like, what is that about?
No, it's just, if you look at it from it's entertainment. It's like a entertainment freak show, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think the
because
comments online is just so hilarious.
it's not even about really
The music.
the songs. It's about
No.
the theatrics and the
Yeah.
drama and
Yeah.
how can we shock you more,
Yeah.
I just think that it's not my cup of tea.
No. No, not at all.
No. My cup of tea is music and arts and of course have gone on to have a career of my own. And I was quite successful for a while. I didn't quite get where I wanted to go, but I had a lot of good influence with different artists like Glenn Matlock from the Sex Pistols. I worked with. He put my first band together. I traveled the world. I went to Germany. I did all this. I went to Abu Dhabi, Dubai, on my own as Eddy Armani. I've been in a couple of movies. I did okay.
Done very well.
Nothing near what I wanted. And then I kind of hit rock bottom. I went through a very, very difficult, hard time picking myself back up again. But one of the things that I learned from Tina, the many things that I learned, was we don't stop. We have to keep going.
Yeah.
And we have to be grateful for every day that we're here. I'm grateful for every day that I am here and all the experience and all the knowledge and again revisiting and putting the book out and rereading the book and I went in and cleaned a lot of stuff up in the book. I even turned around and went, wow. I mean, you did all of that. I mean, wow. So I don't live in the past, but I pat myself on the back because I'll never forget where I came from and where and how hard I worked to get there. Nobody gave it to me.
No.
The one good thing about this journey for me is that it's been a bloody hard work. but it's been the labor of love. And I wouldn't trade it in for anything in the world. I really, really wouldn't. And also, I've come to also acknowledge and appreciate and like myself more for my determination, for I mean, the tenacity of me to even think I could do what I wanted to do and did it. It's
But yeah, then
fantastic.
you went and did it though.
Absolutely. So it's yes. And so the book is the book is a journey that is just it's a roller coaster ride, but it's so exciting. And another thing that was really, really exciting for me was looking back is that I came up from the bottom up. So it wasn't like all of a sudden I met Tina Turner and I wanted to be in work for Tina Turner or being, part of her life and do this and do that. And it was all, first class and Louis Vuitton luggage and private jets. No.
You worked hard.
It wasn't like that. Don't get it twisted. It wasn't like that. And because it wasn't like that, then when we did reach that place, it was incredible.
Yeah. You did
It
it
was
together,
incredible.
didn't you? That's why I say it's a double whammy of journeys in this book. And it's a very unique story because no one else knows what you two discussed. And you had your little sleepovers and your girly giggles when you're drinking and talking about boys and stuff like that. And it's all very special, the stuff that you did with Tina. And it's very unique.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was and funny enough, Tina's the same age as my mother. And it was so great because she was just I never would put Tina in position. No, she was never like a mother to me. She was like my big sister, my
Yeah.
best friend. There was nothing off limits. She was, and the other thing, for a lot of people, when Tina, after she did the cabaret thing, and then she started moving into, before we did the What's Love Got to Do with It, Let's Stay Together and all that. See, I was very important in Tina's life because I was the youth, you see. So I was the youth bringing her new music and new artists, telling her about Billy Idol and Boy George and this group and that group and sharing all this knowledge. And so she went down inside because she never had her teen years. She was able to relive her teen years finally, and she was able to do it with me, and we did it together. So it kind of reversed all that energy and love and idolizing her and getting all of this from her. I was able to give her something back. I was able to write songs for her, and I was able
No,
to
I was going to
help.
say you wrote music for her as well.
Yes, and I was able to help her I mean, I would sit in a chair like I'm sitting now, and Tina would put the music on, and in her bedroom, we rehearsed the show, just she and I. And she was like, "Oh, Eddie, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" And I go, "I'm not sure about that. It's a
You
little bit
taught her
too."
dance moves as well, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes, yes, I did. Because when I used to dance on Soul Train, I used to get a lot of. I was always been a good dancer anyway. But when I went on Soul Train, I learned a lot. I mean, I used to dance with not with, but next to on Soul Train with Jodie Watley, Jeffrey Daniels, Jermaine Stewart was an incredible. We don't have to take our clothes off. He was an incredible, great friend to me. He was one of my first friends when I decided to move to England. I didn't really know that many people. And, I was still working with Tina, but I didn't know that many people. And Jermaine took me by the hand and introduced me to people in the scene and, stuff like that. And I remember when I was first staying here, I came to England, I was renting I was a lodger, I was just renting a room. We didn't have a washing machine and dryer. And I used to take my clothes over to Jermaine Stewart's house and wash my clothes. I mean, I had so much fun and so many great memories with all these people that I grew up with, and to be there to see the making of Let's Stay Together. What's Love Got to Do with It? I
Yeah.
never say this because people think, oh, he's just bragging, but I helped choose Let's Stay Together. Let's Stay Together, they were originally, the record company didn't want the version that was released. They wanted another version. And Roger was kind of not sure which version and whatever. And then they was getting close to getting the song released. And I was at Tina's and we were laughing. And Tina was like, she loved both versions because of Heaven 17. And I remember just turning around and saying, Tina, no one's heard you sing like this. No one's heard, let's stay together. I said, no one's heard you sing like this. And this, your voice sounds incredible. And Tina always had that thing in her voice where when she can go deep and she can sing, but she can go really high and hit all those notes.
Yeah.
I said, they never heard Tina Turner like this. I said, you got to release this slow version. And then Roger said, well, yeah, but they're worried about the radio stations and this and that. I said, they've got to hear Tina sing.
Yeah.
And it was very similar in a different kind of way. If you think about the analogy of it, like Proud Mary. It was like Tina talking in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, every now and then we're going to do it nice and easy. Rolling, and we're rolling on the river. And then it kicks off. And Let's Stay Together was a bit like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was one of my little things that, yes. And I was very proud to say, no, Tina, they haven't heard you sing like that. And they hadn't. And when she did the opening lines to that song, and I worked with her every night promoting that song, and she would go out and sing that song, I swear to God, I had goosebumps. And I literally had tears. I was tears. Because that song was telling the story about where we were going.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you ever know that she would be that big, like a superstar?
Honestly and truly, yes.
Yeah.
I just knew that I felt that Tina was just as good or better than a lot of acts. I won't mention names, it's not fair. But I knew that she was the female version. She was the female rock and roll. And you got to go back in history and remember that Tina was the original. Because Janis Joplin, who everybody knows was the rock, rock queen. I mean, the rock rebel. Her favorite artist in the world was Tina Turner.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
There's a lot of great, and you know what, honestly and truly, yes, I knew she would be as big as she got, and she deserved it. And she worked bloody hard. Again, there was no one like her, and especially women. I mean, most women, go out on stage with a gown and they do a couple of numbers and dance and sing and pace back and forth. Tina worked. When Tina opened her mouth and sang, and you felt it was just like nothing else in the world,
And you had to mop all the sweat off her, didn't you, and change your outfit so she could
I used to stand on the side of the stage with my towel, and then sometimes if Tina was a little bit, we used to have this ritual thing that we used to do. She'd run off a stage, and we'd do a quick change, and then she would go, Eddie, just hold me, and because we're very into the Buddhism spiritual thing, and I would just hold her, and we would just hold each other, not say a word, and it would just be, and then she goes, okay, and she would take energy from my body and put it into her body, and then she was back on stage.
Yeah.
She didn't drink, she didn't smoke. I mean, in the later years, of course, she loved her champagne. Who didn't? But she was not she didn't do drugs, she didn't smoke, and she was. But the thing is, too, I find that a majority of women, of course, and women do, they look after themselves much better than men do. And that's what I really respect about Rod Stewart and Mick Jagger. They were the lads, the boys. They like to party and do this and do that and do the drugs and all that. But then they realized being the lead singer and being out there and have longevity, you can't do those drugs like that. They'll kill you.
Yeah.
You have to be. And the other thing is too, which was a difference between those kind of artists and the artists of today. They had discipline. They started in the gutters and they rose.
Yeah.
They were the phoenix that rose out of the ashes. And yes, but Tina was the first female rock star, and she always looked. She never looked backwards. She never looked down. She always looked up.
Yeah.
She always looked to the future. She always chanted. She was very serious about her chanting. She was very terribly disciplined, and she was actually, don't misunderstand me, Tina could be the hardest person in the world to deal with, as far as she didn't suffer fools. She didn't suffer fools, but I tell you something, you couldn't learn what I learned from a better teacher.
What a few things made me laugh in your book, including when Tina decided to do a fast and she made you do it too. And you tried to sneak down to
Oh,
get some food and she caught you.
well, because again, we
It
were
was like a
such
cleansing thing.
soulmates. We were so much alike. She was feeling the same thing I was feeling. So
Yeah, yeah.
the thing was is that uh, I had to do, and I was willing to do. Don't misunderstand. I was willing to do, and I wanted to do. And I looked after myself. I looked after my body. Listen, I'm not going to say on camera how old I am. If you want to know how old I am, read my book. But I tell you something. I look after myself. I
Yeah.
take care of myself. I look good for Eddy
Your
Armani.
age.
I almost said it.
You
And
did.
I tell you something. I have nothing against it at all about saying your age, because I think age is a blessing. It's a I'm the age
Experience.
I am, and I'm here another day. I've been granted and blessed with another day. Yes, but the only difference is that ignorant people or stupid people don't look at the blessing. They just hear a number and then they want to put you in a category. I have never been, you know, in a box. I don't allow myself to be in a box. I don't do what I'm supposed to do. I do what I want to
Want
do
to
and what
do.
I feel. And if I listen to any of the outside voices or anything like that at all, I wouldn't have experienced a 5% of what
No.
I experienced in my life. I always go, but I was always clever enough to go with my gut instinct. You know, it's not my first time at the rodeo, and I fought worse monsters in Hollywood, so I know how to deal with this world, and I take it on. I just take it on. You
Mm.
know, I still pray, I still believe, I still ask for everything and anything that I want, and I believe that it will come, it will be delivered, and I'm also at a stage in my life that it is delivered to me, because sometimes I can pray about something or do something, whatever, and I dream about it. And I get that fulfillment even in a dream state because it's mine, you know, it's mine.
Mm.
And it makes me very, 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 very proud. And that's why I'm hoping that the people that I'm talking to, I don't want to say names and I don't want to get all that ahead of myself or whatever, but I hope that the people that I'm speaking to do come through, because I really do believe and think that this can be turned into an incredible documentary,
Yeah.
movie type of thing or whatever. There's nobody. I mean, and another thing too. I really want to say, I want to do a children's version of my book, because I want children to have hope.
Yeah.
I want children to believe. I even wanted to go into a Disney type of thing, because I believe that children need more of that. You
Mm.
know, I had that, and nobody interrupted my dreams,
No, they
and for,
didn't.
and for, and for that, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that.
I
I'm
mean,
very
I found the
grateful.
book really inspiring from both of your stories as well, both of your journeys.
Thank you, Lorna. That means so much to me. And
It's
do you
true.
know, I'm actually, like I said, when I revisit the book, I learned, you know, we grow. We don't realize we grow, we change.
Yeah.
And the change has been good. It's been good. And the
Yeah,
growth has been fantastic. And I have a lot to be proud of and for.
definitely.
And again, to go back into all of us, not just children, all of us, follow what you want to do, you know. And it's the same thing as, like, you know, the other night I was really, really hungry, starving, and I thought, oh, I can't be bothered, I'll run in and just make a sandwich or go into get. And I thought, I've been craving tacos for the last, oh gosh, couple of weeks, and I had all the ingredients,
Yeah.
but I just couldn't be bothered. I really couldn't be bothered, but I was craving them like mad. I don't know what that was, what was going on with me, this taco thing. And so then I just went snap out of it. No, you want tacos? Go get tacos. Go make tacos. And I did. And do you know what? It was so fulfilling. It was delicious. It was so good that 2 days later I had tacos again. So
Nice.
I'm using that to say, if you want it, don't, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't subsidize, don't, what's the word I'm looking for?
And also, don't wait for it to happen. Just go make it happen as well.
Exactly. And another thing is I do find, and it's something that I have learned is if I stop and think about what I want to do, I'll still be there sitting there thinking about how and what I want to do. But
Yeah.
when I get the plan together, what I want to do, and just get off my bum and go and do it, then you turn around and you go, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah. I think people
You know,
overthink too much, don't they?
absolutely. And
Yeah.
spiritually, in Buddhism, they teach us, and they tell you that, you know, you are your worst own enemy. You know,
Definitely.
you um uh, allowed that negativity to stay in your head. When that negativity starts to come in, you go into your chakra and you pull it out, and you just go to the positive. Go for your dream. Go for what you want. Not for, but you can't do it for anybody else. You got to do it for yourself, you
Yeah.
know? And that's what the real T in me was all about. It's all about Eddie Armani's, well, I'm going to back up. Eddie Hampton, who
Yeah.
became
Yeah.
Armani,
Yeah.
made his dreams come true. And I haven't stopped dreaming yet. I'm
No.
still dreaming.
Are you going
I'm
to do
still
another
dreaming.
book?
Yes, I am. I am.
Yes.
I'm doing the other book. What I was going to do originally was, before I decided to get this book and re-release it, and get it on paperback and all that, I've already started to work on the second book. The second book, I don't want it to interfere with anyone uh, buying this book and loving this book, but the second book is Hard Knocks. But again, see, I've always had wings. I've always had my wings. The problem was that I flew into a lot of brick walls. And my wings got a little bent, and they got a little, I lost a few feathers and this and that and da da da. Da. But I got myself, dust myself off and got up and start flying again. And so this second book is, I don't know what the title is yet. I've had so many different ideas for titles. Um, it's a little bit of, I don't know, actually. I don't know why it's a little bit of the fall from grace of Tina Turner, and hit rock bottom, and then was able to have to climb back up again,
Tina
you
said that
know,
to you when you rang her up, and she said, Ed, you've got to hit rock bottom, haven't you, before you can climb back up again?
absolutely. And
Yeah.
when she said those words, I was like, those are things that when we had those kind of conversations that she would always, and she never had time for you being a baby, cry baby, or crying, or no time for
No,
tears, no time for tears.
get on
Come
with
on,
it.
get yourself together. Come
Yeah.
on, you know. And that's what I learned. Like I said, I graduated from the university, the life of Tina Turner, and that's a damn good, pretty good place to graduate from.
Absolutely.
You know,
Your book covers so much. It's, yeah, as I said earlier, it's your journey and Tina's, and it covers what went on with her touring. And I loved how we got information about what went on behind the scenes, backstage, in all the dressing rooms and the parties and stuff like that. Because this is stuff that
yeah,
no one's going to know about, isn't it?
no, absolutely. And I mean, us going to Monte Carlo, and Tina was having a thing with James Ralston, who was the guitar player, and Roger was throwing a hissy fit because he didn't like James and he didn't want Tina to be involved with James. And we were there in Monte Carlo and we didn't have any money. We had to, Tina didn't have any money, and then she whispered to me, "Do I have any money?" And I said no. And I'll never forget this too, which is really funny. We were in Monte Carlo, and we went to the best. I mean, we played at the, oh God, what was it? The Monte Carlo. Oh, the Monte Carlo I had a poster of it. Monte Carlo Sporting Club,
Okay.
and I said I don't have any money, and she looked at me and she says, I will never ever need to ask anyone for anything ever again in my life. And it was something that Roger did. Again, it was that, and he wasn't doing it. Yes, he was doing it on purpose, but Tina didn't really have the money. And then we had to be very careful. But here she had been working so hard. We were in Monte Carlo and we were broke.
Mm.
I mean, we had to stay in the best hotel. We had, get everything on room service but there was no cash flow,
Yeah.
Um, I had my low salary, whatever I was getting, but I had, um, I learned from Tina, I learned from the best. I mean, if I got paid today, I'd go shopping today and I was broke for a week,
Yeah.
you know. I lived from hand to mouth, and
Yeah.
she did that, but she was a hard worker and she knew what she wanted, and she was so she just never stopped. And the other thing about it too, she loved it. I mean,
Mm.
she would when she needed to rest or she was tired or there was time, okay, she would go to Roger or she would go to her people and say, listen now, don't book me anything. After we finish this tour, I need 6 months off. I need a year off. My body needs a rest. I need
Yeah.
to enjoy what I've worked for. And she did. She did. And Tina was actually she was a loner. She had Erwin, which she married, and they, he was after Ike Turner, anything or anybody was,
I mean,
a
Ike didn't
step
let her
up.
rest, did he? He was horrible to her. He just made her work all the time, didn't he?
Oh, he was just a horrible man.
Yeah.
And the other thing about him too, you got to remember something, because we can't own each other or anything. There's no slavery. So he knew. Well, actually, no, I'm going to take that back. I was going to say, well, he knew that she was going to leave him one day. Well, of course, what the hell do you expect? You treat someone like a dog.
Yeah.
Uh, a dog will eventually get tired of it, turn around and bite you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So he, and I did see Ike. Funny enough, I saw Ike after Tina's success a couple times. And you know what? I have to say, it was sad because the day he lost Tina, he lost everything. He lost
Yeah.
that sparkle. He lost that class, that style. He didn't have any of that. He didn't have any of that. He was a sad, broken man, but you know what? He brought it on himself.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
She was his
he brought it
spark,
on himself.
wasn't it? Wasn't she?
So everyone out there, if you want a really, as Lorna will guaranteed for you, for me, The Real Tea and Me, Eddy Armani on Amazon Books worldwide, next day delivery, and it's, oh gosh, I won't
I
even say
loved
the
it.
price because I can't
When I
remember.
finished it,
But
I was
it's
like,
cheap.
ah.
Oh, thank you. No, do you know something? And we're not going to tell the audience the ending, but I had to reread that recently. Um, and you know what? I just burst out crying. I
Yeah.
I just, and also because the anniversary of Tina is coming up on November. Oh God, that's her birthday, November the 26th. May the
24th, was it?
24th.
Yeah.
Yeah, May the 24th is the first anniversary of Tina's passing. And I'm going to celebrate her life and with the way she lived. And
Yeah.
that's all you have to do. If you ever want to think of anything or get sad, think of Tina Turner's smile. She had the best hearty laugh and she had the best smile. And that will get you through. And that's what's getting me through because, I know she's in a better place. I
Yeah.
know that we had been quite poorly.
Yeah.
That wasn't her. She had everything prepared and ready. And she was never, even back in the days, when I first started working for her, Tina was never afraid of death. She was
Mm.
never afraid of dying or any of that kind of stuff. And, she was always very, very terribly spiritual and knew that she was put here to do what she had to do for this
Yeah.
lifetime. And when the next lifetime would come, she would move on to do whatever that is. So, as a tribute to this woman, I know it sounds, again, very cliche, but I'm going to say it. She was simply the best.
And on that note, thank you, Eddy and Marley, for talking to me today on Stories to Screen. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh my gosh, I tell you, thank you for having me. And I tell you something, it's just brought back. I was a little bit, I just say this quickly. I was a little bit afraid, not afraid, I was a little bit nervous
Yeah.
about doing this interview because it's so close to the first year passing.
Yeah.
And I've had mixed emotions. And I just thought, I don't want to come on here and burst out in tears and cry. I want to remember all the good. And
There are
I've got,
so many good things in that book, so many happy memories.
thank you.
And I
Thank
think
you.
she'd be very, very proud of you and your book.
And if there was something in the book she didn't like, she would just go point her finger. She would always point her finger at me
Yeah, you
and
said.
she'd probably give me a little slap. Okay, fine. I deserved it. But I love her. And again, she's in a better place. And all the people that love her, just remember the best of her.
Mm.
That's all. Lorna, thank you so much.
Mwah!
And I want to thank you and thank Jason. It's
Thank you,
Jason
Jason, for
Big,
putting us into
biggest,
contact.
yeah, for introducing us. And hopefully Jason's got maybe he can introduce me and to some people in the business. He knows a lot of people
Yes.
with the film business. Let's see what Jason comes up with.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. I really honestly am.
Thank you so
If you
much,
need an
Lorna.
extra in your film, by the way, just, give me a call.
Oh, darling, are you kidding? You'd be right up to the front with me, darling. We'll find something very good. You could be my personal assistant.
You have to pack your suitcase. Oh my God.
Help me carry all my Louis Vuitton luggage to the airports or something. No, we'll have a ball. And I tell you something. I can't wait to meet you. So we have to meet for lunch or
Oh my God, yeah.
something.
100%.
When the kids are on a school break or something,
Yeah.
something, you and I have to get together and have a great time. Maybe we can actually get Jason to take us to lunch.
He can pay. Nice. Virtual high five.
Love you. Bye, darling. Thank
Love you,
you.
darling. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.